Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Lenten Poetry and Organ series. I'm Andrew Galuska, the Director of Music and Fine Arts here at Community Church of Vero Beach, and welcome to you who are watching through live stream and Facebook. This is a time that we set aside about an hour, and we forget what's going on outside. Outside of these walls, nothing is happening, and we just enjoy music, and we enjoy the spoken word, and we enjoy being together as we journey together to Easter. Today, we have Sean Sexton and an anthology reading. Can I call it that, Sean? Wonderful. Again, having you here is wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Sean, why don't you come on up?
Okay, welcome. Look at how our group has grown. You think word's getting out about you?
It's about you.
So we have the concession of an anthology because Keith Flynn couldn't come. His mother's having surgery. He's in Asheville, North Carolina, and I called him 2 weeks ago just to check with him, and I really wondered if he was going to be able to come just on the, all of the other extenuating things going on in the world. And it turned out that he couldn't come, but for other reasons. And so I picked out all these poems with all of you in mind. And the first one is by Hayden Carruth. I was trying to focus on spring and war, but not to belabor it, and peace and resurrection. This is called The Cows at Night. The moon was like a full cup tonight, too heavy, and sank in the mist soon after dark, leaving for light, faint stars and the silver leaves of milkweed beside the road gleaming before my car. Yet I like driving at night in summer and in Vermont, the brown road through the mist of mountain dark, among farms so quiet and the roadside willows opening out where I saw the cows. Always a shock to remember them there, those great breathings close in the dark. I stopped and took my flashlight to the pasture fence. They turned to me where they lay, sad and beautiful faces in the dark, and I counted them, 40 near and far in the pasture, turning to me sad and beautiful like girls very long ago who were innocent and sad because they were innocent, and beautiful because they were sad. I switched off my light, but I did not want to go, not yet, nor knew what to do. If I should stay, for how in that great darkness could I explain anything at all? I stood by the fence, and then very gently, it began to rain. This is my dear friend in Mississippi, Claude Wilkinson. Weed. What easy, gluttonous bumble rolls through the dusty rose deserts of clover, till I rip the cord of my mower for the first time each year. Were it not for neighbors and vanity's sake, I'd simply let them be, beautiful as they are. All the lawn daisies with their halos of white rays circling pastel heads on near impossible to nip supple green stems waving like standards in early's April chilly breeze. And not just them, but the self-heal and creeping buttercups, the star shapes of ragwort, bumper crops of dandelion, slender speedwell or Veronica filiformis by its fancier handle, the purplish and white sprays of bull thistle and wild carrot, a skulk of foxtail, velvet leaf, lady's thumb, lamb's quarters, dead nettle, such orange wings of hawkweed, the brilliant yellow wood sorrel, which must spring up overnight like a fairy tale, or Jonah's beloved gourd that seems too sacred to kill. This is a Russian poet, Yedovchenko. It's an excerpt from Zima Junction, which is a long prose poem. And I think Zima Junction is in Siberia. And it's on the particular theme of berry picking. A single cow went wandering after the rest. A woman with no shoes was chopping wood. A cock was crowing loudly as we passed out of the village into wide meadows full of the deafening din of cicadas. The rearing shafts of carts as still as ice over the earth, the blue intense air, After the open fields, you come to bushes, still cold and glistening with moisture, birds messing about, a few wild raspberries. Among the brambles, soft and smoky crimson, the whortleberries lie there to be rolled in, pine needles, and cranberries burn your feet. But we were after the best of the berries, the strawberries that grow in the deep woods. Someone called out in front, "Look, there they are, and there's another lot." Joy of simplicity, of carrying, the pattering of the first ones in the bucket, but we had to submit to the young guide. "Citizens, you just make me laugh. We haven't got near the berries yet." And then a clearing broke through the trees with the drunkenness of berries, sunlight and flowers. It dazzled on our eyes. It was one breathing, oh. The strawberries were like a waking dream. Their smell was terrifying. We ran in among them with rattling pails and tripped, lay there drugged, using our lips to pluck the big berries on their stems. On the hillocks, the downy grass hanging like smoke, the forest humming with swarms of midges, thin humming of pines. And the strawberries dropped out of the mind. My eyes were on that woman, watching pleasure in all her movements, taking turn with pleasure. Her white kerchief slipped down on her forehead. She was laughing and picking strawberries, and she was laughing. I, the incredulous and trapped by hesitation and confusion, got up out of the warm and crumpled grass and poured my berries into somebody's bucket and wandered through the forest by no path, from memory, no subtraction, the calculation of remembered factors. I came out from the pines, their hollow noise, into the wheat, lay shut-eyed at its feet, and opening an eye, bird crossing sky, sat up on the dry, stalky ground, fingered the wheat, its ripening ears. I asked the wheat how happiness could come for everyone. What can be done, wheat? Wise wheat, personal shame, personal weakness, I don't know how to set about it. I mayn't be saint enough or fitted for it. And the wheat answered with head scarcely moving, "You're neither bad nor good, but simply very young." do something very 21st century and read from my phone. I go to these slams sometimes, poetry slams, and these kids are doing things from their phones, and I think, oh my God. This is the most wonderful. It's a sonnet by Robert Frost called The Silken Tent. Can everybody hear me well? Is it good, the sound? Bill was so worried. We have a wonderful man up there, Bill Mullen. We've never acknowledged him, but he's none of this would happen without him. The silken tent. She is as in a field of silken tent at midday when the sunny summer breeze has dried the dew and all its ropes relent, so that in guise it gently sways at ease, and its supporting central cedar pole that is its pinnacle to heavenward and signifies the sureness of the soul, seems to owe naught to any single cord, but strictly held by none, is loosely bound by countless silken ties of love and thought. To everything on earth the compass round, and only by one's going slightly taught, in the capriciousness of summer air, is of the slightest bondage made aware. sort of a poem letter from a very dear friend of mine and an alumni of this event, Alfred Korn, the great poet. He's from, like all truly great people, from Rhode Island, you know. But that's look at there. There's some people you need to talk to when we get done. And it's as I said, it's a poem letter, which is a form. I've written some, and I've read some fabulous ones. I don't think it is intended to be completely a letter. There's no complimentary close, and there's sort of a salutation, and it goes like this. The title is "A Window on the Strait of Juan de Fuca," which I believe is up in the Northwest, and between Vancouver and Seattle. And you should be here now, Sam, watching your poems, the way they dart, swoop, swerve, and glide, or startle up in flexible constellations, perch in tandem on humming power lines, or work in teams to comb the grass for grubs or seeds. Last night's cold front countersigned the dark, unwinding one of your strongest as it sheared miles-long bolts of silk against the eaves. Some tattered scroll with an account in ink brush of a long trek through cloud-flown mountain peaks and forests, and then at dusk, skies clear and windless, the eased, upward-looming arc of Canaan at the full. This noon, short lyrics flank the paths, dapper as the air stirs them in azure, rosé, egg yolk, damson, white, radial symmetry or simple furrows, a simplicity not at all ruffled by Latin names lent them by Linnaeus. Your summation, Sam, it rests in broad marine expanses framed by the headland spruces, spiky silhouette, an elemental blue, that paler sea lane's river in concurrence with surveying rafts of cloud, wave after wave keeps reconfiguring the grain, waters invariant by virtue of constant flux, all the more at daybreak, when a further laminate of diamond breaks the surface of the page's rising tide, light infinitely not there, and hence perpetual from now forward. This is a poem by Claudia Emerson from her Pulitzer Prize winning volume, Late Wife. And the subject of this book was actually the first wife of her maybe second husband. Yes, and her effects being in their lives when they were joined after the loss of this person. The great irony of this volume is that she too was soon gone after the publication of this, a little while after. But she is so fabulous. This is called Second Bearing, 1919, for my father. I have asked to tell him how he heard the curing barn took hours to burn, the logs thick, accustomed to heat, how even when it was clear all was lost, the barn and the tobacco fields within it, they threw water instead on the nearby peach tree, intent on saving something, sure, though the heat had killed it, the bark charred black. But in late fall, the tree broke into bloom, perhaps having misunderstood the fire to be some brief backward winter. Blossoms whitened, open, peaches appeared against the season, an answer, an argument. Word carried, people claimed the fruit was sweeter for being out of time. They rode miles to see it. He remembers my grandfather saying, his mouth full, "This is a sign." And the one my father was given to eat, the down, the same soft as any other, inside, the color of cream, juice clear as water, but wait, he holds his cupped hand up as though for me to see again. There is no seed, no pit to come to, that it is infertile and somehow endless. so many things I want to read to you. I'm having to make choices from the bench. This is Tony Hoagland. It's his last book, and it's like the most incredible swan song in a way. It's entitled The Truth. In summer, there was something in the selfhood. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. It's called I Have Good News. I apologize. You just have me swept away, you know. I have good news. When you were sick for the last time in your life, walking around, shaky, frail with your final illness, feeling the space between yourself and other people grow wider and wider, like the gap between a rowboat and its dock, you will begin to see the plants and flowers of your youth, and they will look as new to you as they did back then, little lavender bouquets arranged in solar systems, delicate beyond your comprehension. The dark gold buttons with the purple manes, the swan white throats splashed with radish-colored flecks, the thread-like stalks that end in asterisks. They are where you left them by the bus stop bench along the chain-link fence behind the widow's house, and you shall squat down on your heels and gaze at them just as you did before. Because this restitution of your heart is coming. You need not fear the indignities of death and growing old. The synagogue of Weedhead will be your evidence that every moment is not trampled by the march of all the rest. It doesn't matter if you end up isolated and alone, pulling the trigger of the morphine feed repeatedly. It doesn't matter if you die whimpering into the railing of the hospital bed, refusing to see visitors, smelling your own body in the dawn. The dark ending does not cancel out the brightness of the middle. Your day of greatest joy cannot be dimmed by any shame. All good things must come to an end. I want to introduce you to this poet, B.H. Fairchild. If Walt Whitman is the Jesus of American poetry, this is the Apostle Paul. This is called A House. And this is the epigraph. I'm 32 times have I passed before the day and hour of my death as one passes by the door of a house that one will someday live in without even a thought of glancing at it. And that's Julian Green from his diary, 1928 to 1957. A house, it's just a house. And standing on the sagging porch, peering from the screen door through cramped, unlit rooms to the sun-struck kitchen in back, I can finally make out odd hunks of darkness drifting up a dining table, 4 chairs that weariedly look like monks at prayer. Flecks of some reflected distant glow or fire scattered from a couch's plastic cover, the white keys of an upright piano in its thick Victorian silence. A small house, post-war, working people surely, their lives of work buried in the vague odor of oil and sweat rising from the carpet whose green swirls twist into view. A strange light begins to fill the front room's lace curtains, falls like a fine dust, like mortality itself, upon the blue willow dishware and the family photos arranged around the Motorola's wire antenna, and now, so faintly, so terribly, voices float from the kitchen, women's voices, flute-like, and sudden, then little bursts of laughter, a flurry of whispers, a sharp "no!" And there he is, a small boy, standing in the kitchen door, surprised and smiling, the purest form of happiness, then walking quickly toward me in his white t-shirt, jeans, and blue Brooklyn Dodgers cap, those bright hazel eyes looking up and hands spread wide and raised against the screen of the door, pushing hard until it opens, its rusted spring creaking in that long cry that sounds like a question without words, and I walk through. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much. We have next
Who's next week?
Sheree Clark, who is here. She's sitting in the back. Wave your hand, Sheree. She's in Sebastian. She moved up here from Miami after a career as an educator and poet and writer and literature professor. And she knows so much, my God. We're so fortunate to have her. And then, well, I won't tell you about the last one. You'll find that by coming here next time. And, but thank you again. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Andrew. Hey, John.